All right, we're taking a look at the last two notes for Unit 3. Huzzah! So, our last two cleft sentences that we have is what we call an it cleft and a what cleft. So, we're looking at the very bottom of our worksheet. If you're following along with me, you can take some notes on this if you'd like to. So, an it cleft is a sentence where I'm going to cleave the sentence, meaning I'm going to split the sentence up because I want to focus on something more specifically. So, in English, um, bad writers will sometimes have a hard time figuring out how to stress something to the reader. And your whole point of a writer is to make sure that the reader knows exactly what you're trying to focus on. So if my sentence was Mr. Gallagher wrecked his motorcycle in Refton over the weekend, well, a bad writer has no way of really showing the reader how to focus on certain points other than maybe to do something cheesy like to underline. I think italicize is always a little bit better, but there's got to be something better. So if I wanted to focus on Mr. Gallagher in this sentence, I might underline and say Mr. Gallagher wrecked his motorcycle in Refton over the weekend. Or I could say Mr. Gallagher wrecked his motorcycle in Refton over the weekend, as opposed to like his car. Or Mr. Gallagher wrecked his motorcycle in Refton over the weekend, as opposed to maybe in Strasbourg. Or Mr. Gallagher wrecked his motorcycle in Refton over the weekend, as opposed to on Friday or Thursday. And so, my point here is that writers, we have to be able to kind of tell the reader what we want to focus on. And if we do something cheesy like underlining or bolding or something like that, there's got to be something better. And so, what we can do is we can cleave the sentence by making an it cleft. We can actually cleave the sentence to force the reader to realize what's most important because you'll force their voice to hit it harder than all the rest. So, I could say is, it was over the weekend that Mr. Gallagher wrecked his motorcycle. And I've cleaved the sentence, I've split the sentence around, so I'm focusing on over the weekend. Or if I want to stress Refton, I could say it was in Refton that Mr. Gallagher wrecked his motorcycle. If I want to focus on motorcycle, I'd say it was his motorcycle that Mr. Gallagher wrecked in Refton over the weekend. Or if I want to say it was Mr. Gallagher who wrecked his motorcycle in Refton over the weekend. The point is, the original sentence hasn't changed. If I kind of go back and forth between these slides here real fast, you'll notice that above here, the top sentence, let's see if I can get my highlighter to show it for you. We'll do a laser pointer. You'll notice up here, the sentence isn't changing at all. It's the same sentence. But what's happening is I'm just simply cleaving the sentence in a different way down here to stress what I want to stress to the reader. So the sentence has undergone a transformation to kind of stress certain points of that sentence. So on your worksheet, I'm going to try to show, or at least we're going to practice how to cleave a sentence correctly. So I'm going to use my first period sentences. So obviously yours will be a little different if you're in third or fourth period. But my first period, they have a sentence which reads, Chris served his mom soggy toast and undercooked eggs on Mother's Day. And I said, well, what if you want to stress or you want to really focus on the part which is in yellow? Soggy toast and undercooked eggs. How do you stress that? And so, in order to cleave the sentence, I have to always add in three words. It's either going to be it was who, if I'm stressing a person, or it was that, if I'm stressing something which is not a person. If I was trying to stress the word Chris, I'd use it was who. But if I'm going to try to stress toast and eggs, I'm going to insert it was that. But you're not going to insert them in that exact order. You're going to insert it was, and then you're going to have to switch things around in order to put the word that in the sentence. So how could you add in it was that to cleave the sentence correctly? All right, so try it first. I'll pause, or you can pause me and then see what you can do with cleaving the sentence and then check your answer. Here's my dramatic pause. And here comes your answer, everybody. It was soggy toast and undercooked eggs that Chris served his mom on Mother's Day. And that would be the correct way of cleaving the sentence using an it cleft if I want to stress soggy toast and undercooked eggs. Sure, you could say it was on Mother's Day, but that would be cleaving the sentence in a different way. Or you could say it was his mom that Chris served, or it was Chris who served. And so you certainly can cleave the sentence in different ways. But if I'm asking you to cleave the sentence to focus on the toast and the eggs, this is how it would be written. All right, let's continue. The other and final point we have for this unit is what we call a what cleft. So the third type of cleft sentence we have is a what cleft. A what cleft is going to insert only two words. So if I said what Mr. Gallagher wrecked was his motorcycle, what I've really done is I've inserted the word what was. If I transform the sentence back, what the real sentence is saying is Mr. Gallagher wrecked his motorcycle. but I've just simply cleaved it with the words what was. Just kind of gives a different focus, a different feel, a different sound to the sentence. If I said, what caused the accident was a small child in the road. Well, if I take the what was out of the sentence, I'm left with a small child in the road caused the accident. All you're doing is you're transforming it back into its declarative form, and you're left with these extra words, which is what was. Or if I said, what reduced the visibility to zero was the thick fog. And really, what you're saying is the thick fog reduced the visibility to zero. You notice in each of these, I keep inserting what was in order to cleave the sentence. So it's not really important for me for you to be able to diagram these. And that's why the author doesn't even show you how to diagram them. She doesn't even give you a visual to how to do it. But what I want to make sure you can do is realize, okay, in a cleft sentence, I'm going to insert something. So think about what we've done so far. We've inserted the word there for a there transformation. We've inserted it was that or it was who for an it cleft. And now we're inserting a what was for a what cleft. So final sentence for us for today. If I take my first period sentence, Morgan wanted a week without any tests or meaningless projects more than anything. And if I wanted to cleave this sentence using a what cleft, I'm going to insert those two words. Oh, my goodness, I went the wrong way. We're going to insert what was. So I'm going to pause, insert what and was, not next to each other. You're going to have to split them apart and maybe move some things around a little bit in order for it to make sense. But can you cleave the sentence with a what was? All right, so you can pause the video. If you think you got it and you've written it down, let's proceed. All right, so here I'm going to pause. And now I'm going to show you the answer. All right, so unpause me if you're ready for it. Here we go. So if you're working with your first period sentences, I ended up with what Morgan wanted more than anything was a week without any tests and more meaningless projects. All right, so the main sentence hasn't changed. If I take out what's there in yellow, the sentence is still there. Morgan wanted a week without any tests or meaningless projects more than anything. You notice I moved that more than anything around just because I thought it made more sense up front. But I've inserted that what was in order to cleave the sentence. And that brings chapter 4 to a close and also brings unit 3 to a close. So now we're just in the process of reviewing all of this. All right, so that's what we're going to do for the next couple of days is simply review and kind of start putting all this together and figuring out what we know and what we need to know. Okay.